The Midwest East North Central region. The East North Central region of the Midwest borders the Great Lakes. It includes the states of Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Ohio, and Wisconsin. The Northwest Territory was created by the Northwest Ordinance of 1785, where the land was surveyed, and the Northwest Ordinance of 1787, which laid the basis for government of the new territory and admission of states into the Union. The geography of the area is very varied. It includes prairie grasses, fertile farmlands, forests, rivers, and lakes. The eastern region has more rainfall than the western region. Also, it has milder weather. This region is sometimes known as the heart of industrialization. Agriculture in the region is very important. There are over 127 million acres of agricultural land, with over $76 billion in crop and livestock products in 2007. Although it's known as the Corn Belt, there are a number of other crops that are grown, including soybeans, alfalfa, a number of fruits and vegetables, and other grains. This area is also known as a major producer of milk, butter, and cheese. The culture of the region is diversified. There are both cities and rural areas. The rural areas are more largely populated by the white population. There are higher populations of African Americans in Ohio, Michigan, and Illinois. Native Americans, Latino, Asian, and Pacific Islanders are also representative. In the Midwest, we consider that it is a more conservative and traditional lifestyle that is followed, but it is more liberal in the metropolitan and industrial areas. There are a number of different religious beliefs that are practiced in the region. Income is around the national average, and unemployment is low, except for in manufacturing jobs. This region also has a strong influence of jazz and blues that came out of Chicago, as well as the Motown sound that came out of Detroit. Settlers of the East North Central region came in after the American Revolution. Those first settlers came from the northeastern states, Virginia and Delaware, as well as African Americans that migrated from the South. There are a number of immigrants that came from the European nations. Religious groups that were represented at that time included Lutherans, Catholics, and Jews, which still have a strong influence in the region. There is still Amish and Mennonite settlements that you can find in Ohio, Indiana, and Illinois. The early colonists ate pork, corn, beans, squash, pumpkins, cabbage, and potatoes. Wild game might have included venison, rabbit, squirrel, but even skunks and bear might have been consumed. Beef was available, and there was abundance of fish. Native fruits were found, and foods brought in by immigrants included additional fruits and grains. Milk products and cheese making was strong in this region after Swiss immigrants came in. New England settler common foods that came into this region included baked beans, meat pot pies, succotash, pickles, and radishes. Settlers from the South had fried foods such as fried chicken and fried biscuits, as well as pork. Although every state has foods that they're well known for, these foods are really found within the region. Philip Armour founded the Chicago meatpacking industry. Gustav Swift made his fortune in hams and sausages. German immigrant and butcher Oscar Mayer started his hot dog business in Chicago. Russian immigrant Louis Rich founded a turkey luncheon meat empire. And James Kraft introduced sliced pieces of cheese, as well as processed and prepackaged cheese. The first Chicago-style pizza is believed to have been made in 1943 at a restaurant named the Pizzeria. Baked persimmon or steamed persimmon pudding was common in Indiana. Pork cake is very similar to fruit cake, but it does contain sausage or salted pork with it. Sweet cream pie is made with a very sweet custard. And I have a recipe that I'd like to share with you for Swiss fondue. This is a recipe that I had wanted to make, but not able to find Gruyere cheese.
This classic fondue starts an instant conversation every time. First, cut 3/4 of a pound of Gruyere and 3/4 of a pound of Emmenthal to fit through the feed tube of a food processor. Next, shred the cheeses in a food processor with the shred tool attached. Now, to the cheese, add 1 tablespoon of flour and stir. Next, cut cut a loaf of crusty French bread into 1-inch cubes. Rub the inside of a heavy pot with a crushed garlic clove. Add 1 cup of white wine, 1 tablespoon of kirsch, and 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. Heat over a medium flame until the wine is hot but not boiling. Next, add handfuls of cheese, stirring constantly with a wooden spoon until the cheese is melted and the cheese-wine mixture has the appearance of a light, creamy sauce. Add nutmeg and white pepper to taste. Remove the pot and place on a fondue stand surrounded by bread and vegetables. This classic fondue recipe from the Alps is great for any occasion, from brunch to appetizers to the main feature.
I think it would be fun to make the cheese fondue with my class. And of course, you can make a non-alcoholic version using non-alcoholic wine, or replace the wine with either milk or a 50-50 mixture of milk and chicken or vegetable stock. Michigan is a major producer of apples in our nation. There's a number of different dishes you can make from apple. Sour European cherries were introduced by the French. The creation of the U.S. cereal industry was found in Michigan as well. Dr. John Kellogg invented cornflakes while working as the medical director of a health sanitarium in Battle Creek. C.W. Post created grape nuts, also in Battle Creek. Dutch immigrants made ham croquettes, pea soup, and saucienbrouja, which are sausage pig in a blanket. The French introduced bouillon, which is a thick, flavorful game stew. Cornish pasties are common in the mining areas in the upper peninsula of Michigan. The immigrants from the Cornwall area of England brought this with them. They were a meal in a pocket. The pastries were filled with meat and vegetables. Often venison was the meat, and typical vegetables were potatoes and turnips. You could also make the pasties with apples or other fruits as a dessert. Sausage, ham, potato, and cabbage dishes were influenced by the German immigrants in Ohio. Polish immigrants introduced pierogies, kielbasa sausage, and strudel. I made pierogies with my family, and they very much enjoyed those. I have a recipe in my list of recipes for those. Greek and Macedonian immigrants developed Cincinnati chili, a sweet, spicy chili often served over spaghetti. I was a little intrigued by that, so I made that for my family as well. The sweetness comes from cinnamon. In addition to cinnamon, allspice and cloves are added to that. So you have the spiciness of the chili powder, the sweetness of the cinnamon, and then at the end you add in a little bit of tang from apple cider vinegar and then an unsweetened chocolate bar, which gives more complexity. So chili one way is chili alone. Cincinnati chili two-way, chili served over spaghetti. Three-way, chili and grated cheese over the spaghetti. Four-way, chili, grated cheese, and onions over the spaghetti. Five-way, add kidney beans to that. My family very much enjoyed this and said that they would certainly eat it again. Wisconsin is known for cheese, beer, and brats. The Swiss immigrants started the dairy farms. Wisconsin is the leading producer of milk, sweetened condensed milk, butter, and cheeses. Scandinavian immigrants introduced fish boils, pickled fish, and meatballs. Bratwursts were influenced by Eastern Europeans. Desserts that were common in the region included German Kuchen, Schramm Torte, Danish Kringle. And the first breweries in our nation were started in Wisconsin. So I made German Kuchen, which is a yeasted coffee cakes with fruit as well as a custard filling and a streusel topping. So I'd like to play my video for that. The rhubarb kuchen was kind of a nice variation from the typical rhubarb crunch that I make, and it made enough dough so I can make another kuchen from that. Danish kringle is a flaky pastry, and when we think of Danish, we think of that flakiness of the pastry. It's traditionally shaped like a pretzel or shaped into an oval ring. I also have another video clip I'd like to share about a little history in Racine, Wisconsin.
How many places can you be like right next to Lake Michigan and watch the sunrise, which is a majestic sight every day? It's a nice time of day. My grandpa opened a bakery with a partner. They opened O&H Bakery. You can start to smell it, can't you? Oh yeah. Olison and Holt. That was in 1949. Good morning. Kringle is a pastry that was introduced to Racine by Danish Bakery. Uniquely wonderful pastry that until you've really experienced a good quality kringle, you really just don't understand how enjoyable it is. It's important paying attention to detail. It is handmade. It's like having an orchestra right in front of me right now. And here I am, I'm the conductor. On the first day, we're mixing and rolling this biscuit-style dough. Day 2, we re-roll the dough and keep layering the butter. And then on day 3, we roll this dough out very thin and put a filling inside the dough. So we have 18 layers on top and 18 layers below. It's a generation-old process, the time-honored technique.
Raisin bread coming out.
Now we make 5,000 kringle a day. Thousands of kringle in the months of November and December. I took my father through this bakery probably 10 years ago. Come over to this side of it. He just shook his head and said, I can't believe we started our bakery in 900 square feet. How many times can you get a sitting president? Another best of award. It's just it delivers. People put it in their mouth and just like, wow.
Never lose the taste for it.
We're making things people enjoy. We're making happiness. Nice, flaky pastry.
So if I ever make it to Racine, I'm certainly going to visit the O&H Bakery and try a kringle there. When we think of traditional Midwest foods, it's the typical American cuisine. Your meal is usually your meat, your potatoes, vegetables, and a bread. The seasoning is fairly mild. Sharing of meals is important, whether it is with your family or having a potluck dinner in your community. I had a good time in evaluating and learning more about the Midwest and finding a number of recipes that I'm excited to try.